Game 5 series tied at King. George, yes. Paul George off to a sizzling start.
Wade, a fall-away jumper, air ball. Down goes Chalmers. He got rocked. Swing it over to Chalmers. He'll fire a three and hit. Oh, now we've got on the opposite end. We've got Anderson and Hansbrough shoving at one another.
You hear this crowd going crazy? No. We are 5. Yeah, we're up 5.
The tip missed. Kept alive by West. And the follow by Mahimi. We're up here by 5. James with a beautiful spin to beat Hill.
He tried to take it to the rim, and Hibbert met him at the summit. Jabs, elevates, fires, and hits.
Greatest player in the world, and he's playing like it. James with a deep throw, and it continues for LeBron James.
That's LeBron showing his greatness and making it look easy.
LeBron James outscored Indiana in the third quarter of Game 5. That pretty much sums it up.
All right, well, I'll leave then and do the highlight. Pacers had the Heat right where they wanted them, bogged down in a physical, slow-paced game, and then right after halftime, the NBA's MVP made sure he wouldn't need to hit a buzzer beater to rescue the Heat in the final seconds this time. Game 5, let's get it on from South Florida. Series tied at 2 games apiece. Paul George and Roy Hibbert dominated in the first quarter. George for 3, he was 5 for 8 on threes, wound up with 27 points in this game. And then George to Hibbert on the pick and roll, 22 points for Hibbert. And then Hibbert out there, 8 for 14 for Hibbert. And then George with another 3 with Dwayne Wade's hand in his face. George and Hibbert combined for all 23 Pacers points in the first quarter, so a good start for Indiana. Now, Tyler Hansbrough and Chris Anderson got into it. On the excitability meter, both of them moved the needle. And they get into it, and quickly they need to be separated. Anderson also received a flagrant 1 foul in addition to the double technicals. And then moments later, Anderson got the people fired up, comes from behind and blocks Hansbrough inside. Big block for the Birdman. He's fired up late in the second. LeBron James, he had 11 points in the first half. Under a minute to go in the half. David West, decent scoring night for him as well. He had 17 points. Pacers up 4 at the half, but Frank Vogel told his team they couldn't afford to let up. Let's listen in.
They got a banner up there. Okay, and they got a banner up there not because of their talent, because they got great will too. They have great determination too. Our will and our determination's got to be better than theirs in the second half to get out of here with a win.
Well, LeBron James got plenty of will and determination just before the start of the third quarter. He's getting at his team. And he's getting at the Pacers as well. Spinning and winning, Heat down 3. Later, the Heat down 1. LeBron James to Udonis Haslem. Haslem's first shot hit the side of the backboard, and then he proceeded to make 8 in a row. Off the Pacers' miss, the Heat back down 1. They're off and running. Chris Bosh to James, big finish. Heat back up 1. Mid-third quarter, he just started hitting everything.
Everything.
51 apiece. And then when he wasn't hitting everything, he was finding wide-open teammates who were hitting everything. All the Pacers collapsed. Mario Chalmers, wide open look at a 3 to put the Heat up 3. Next Heat possession, Lance Stevenson, pretty good defense, but didn't matter. And you remember the choke sign from last year. James giving Stevenson a mouthful. Off the ball screen, James, how about 3? Heat up 6. Then at the top of the key, let's take a look at how far he is with a Sportscenter scope, and it just doesn't matter. Heat up 14 after that. James with 16 in the third, and as Neil mentioned, he outscored the Pacers in the quarter all by himself. That will and determination that we mentioned, here's James talking about it.
Yeah, I kind of just went back, to my Cleveland days at that point. See if the guys would just follow me and just lead them the best way I could. And I was just in attack mode in the third quarter, look for my shot, and luckily I was able to make some.
Yeah, he made some. 7 out of 10 for those 16 points in the third quarter. In the fourth, James to Dwayne Wade. Just over a minute to play, the Heat up 12. James drives and gets a layup. He had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Heat take it 90-79. So he leads the team in scoring, leads them in rebounding, and tied for the team lead in assists. And Miami is up 3 games to 2 now, just 1 win away from a 3rd straight trip to the NBA Finals. You saw George, you saw Hibbert, you saw West. Well, the 6 other Pacers who saw action combined for just 13 points. Is that bad?
It's not good.
But James was great, and so Miami wins.
I have a big voice in our locker room. I have a big voice on this team, and I sensed what was going on with our team, in the first half. And, before we took the floor in the third quarter, I just gave them a little piece of my mind, a piece of my voice, and, we was able to respond.
That's LeBron showing his greatness and making it look easy. His engine in that third quarter was incredible. He was tireless. He was making plays on both ends of the court and then making virtually every play for us offensively. It's really remarkable and a testament to his conditioning and obviously his greatness.
We kind of have to look at each other, look ourselves in the mirror and say, what do we want out of this season? And, it's just how to turn up our effort a little bit, make it tough on them on their offensive end of the floor. And, that's what we're great at. We're great on the defensive end of the floor. We're not the biggest team, but, just causing havoc, making plays, and we did that from the start.
This game 6 will really determine, how much we've grown, because we've been in the same ditch, I guess, being in the same predicament.
We understand that we got to play a near-perfect game to beat this team. It's one of the best teams in the history of the game. We believe we can reach that level. We didn't get, a good enough game from our side tonight to do it.
We have to go next level if we're going to talk anything more about LeBron James, and we do that courtesy of Samsung. Show you how the Heat leaned on him in this crucial Game 5. He had a series-high 86 offensive touches, 17 more than Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade had combined in Game 5. For more on Game 5, John Barry joins us courtside from Miami. John, is there anything that the Pacers could have done differently against LeBron James in the third quarter?
I don't know, Stan. It was a pretty spectacular third quarter, as we've seen many from LeBron James. But Indiana, I thought the turnovers really led to some easy opportunities. He got a couple baskets at the rim, and his dribble penetration became a factor. The first half, he was unable to get into the paint. I thought he and Chalmers really penetrated the lane well in that third quarter. That set up Udonis Haslem, who went 5 for 5, knocked down all of his jump shots. And it seems like when LeBron gets rolling, the floodgates open, and everybody starts playing well. And what a third quarter it was, outscoring Indiana 30-13.
So now, John, Miami hasn't lost 2 games in a row since January, but the Pacers have to try to beat them twice in succession now. What's the key to getting that first one in Game 6?
Well, if there's any team that could possibly do it, I'd pick the Indiana Pacers. I mean, they've shown such great ability to bounce back from tough losses. You remember Game 1, they gave up the layup to LeBron James. Then they lose Game 3 convincingly at home. They bounce back and get Game 4. So no team has won 2 in a row in this series. I fully expect Indiana to do a better job at home. They're going to play well. I do believe they'll force a Game 7. They got to take care of the basketball, make sure they get that ball down to Hibbert even more, get back to dominating the paint. They were dominating the paint tonight. Get back to doing those couple things, and I believe they force a Game 7 Monday night.
All right, John Barry back on the road, headed to Indiana now. And so far, this is looking somewhat like last year. Both seasons, the series tied at 2 games apiece. The Heat won Game 5 each time. Last year, they closed out Indy in 6. This year's Game 6, Saturday in Indianapolis.
Their playoff lives were flashing before their eyes, and the Miami Heat needed the best player on the planet to be at the peak of his powers on a night when LeBron James had little help from the rest of the Big Three. But the Heat credit a man who played only 51 minutes all season, a man in street clothes, 40-year-old Juwan Howard, with delivering the most important and passionate halftime words of all.
Juwan's voice in our locker room on the floor is as big as anyone. As big as Spo, as big as mine, D-Wade, UD.
There's a lot of bleeps and, stuff like that. But basically, they're not going to give us the game. We have to go out there and take it. And he also threw a couple things around in the locker room, too.
James says he also gave the Miami Heat a piece of his mind at halftime. Then he gave Miami 12 minutes of mind-boggling brilliance. He shredded the NBA's best defense, outscoring the staggering Pacers in the third quarter, 16-13, all by himself.
Yeah, I kind of just went back, you know, to my Cleveland days at that point. I was just in attack mode in the third quarter. Just had no sense of urgency. It was just waiting for the game to change instead of going to get it.
His engine in that third quarter was incredible. He was tireless. It's really remarkable and a testament to his conditioning and obviously his greatness.
Udonis Haslem says he saw the same look in James' determined eyes that we all remember last year in Boston when LeBron had one of his greatest performances ever with the Heat trailing 3-2. Now, the Pacers must find some way to stare down James. In Miami, Mark Schwartz, ESPN.
Well, we're going to talk about James, particularly in this game. Well, we got to go next level, and we do it courtesy of Samsung to show you how the Heat used the pick and roll effectively in the third quarter. They scored 19 points on pick and rolls as compared to 33 points the rest of the game. James was a catalyst, as you might imagine. In the third quarter in pick and rolls, he went 4 for 4 with 2 assists on those plays. Here's Stephen A. Smith.
Udonis Haslem hit all 5 of his shots in the third quarter. But if you think that was the difference in this game, there are legitimate questions as to whether or not you know the game of basketball. LeBron James simply took over. There is no way to slice it. He hit 7 of his 10 shots. He drove into the lane. He hit jump shots. He hit a three-pointer. He did it all. And he had that look in his eye that said, there is no way on earth we are losing this game. He saved the day and may have saved this series. There's still a Game 6 to be played, and the Indiana Pacers will have something to say about that. But after experiencing what they saw against LeBron James in Game 5, let's just say I wouldn't bet my money on the Pacers, you know?
All right, so Thursday, James had at least 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists for the 42nd time in his playoff career. The only player who's done that more in the last 25 postseasons, yep, it was him. 9-5.
Let's check out the Heat and Pacers. Oh, fly high, free bird, yeah. Skinner rocks. So did the Heat.
At number 5, and at number 1, we're going to just recap LeBron James' third quarter because it was one big top play. 16 points and 4 assists in the third quarter for James. As he just told the Heat, come with me. I'll lead us to Indiana in Game 6. 30 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists for the game. Heat win it to go up 3-2.